Welcome to Politics Unleashed. We break down politics and current events while unleashing our honest opinions on the issues shaping the world and within Canada. Please remember to subscribe, like, and share the podcast.
I'm Michelle.
I'm Chris Badaluk, and we have with us a special guest this week, our MP for Edmonton Northwest, Billy Morin. Welcome to the podcast, Billy.
Happy to be here. Happy to talk politics with two good friends of mine. And this is actually the second podcast I've ever been on.
Oh.
So you guys are right after the best, our leader, Pierre. And so the second one I've been on. So happy to be here.
I think he does a little bit better than we did so far. In fairness, I think he started a lot earlier, too.
Yeah.
But well, welcome to the podcast, Billy. You were elected in April of last year. How is being an MP treating you?
Living the dream. It's I'm not new to politics, obviously, being the chief of Enoch. So I always say that politics on the res is a little bit tougher. It's your family. It's 3,000 person family. So that hardened me up. But now that we're in January 2026, you get the flow of Ottawa, you get the flow of how bills move, you get the flow of how committees work, you get the rules and everything. So, we're 2026 going into New Year, just raring to go on what's next.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So recently, our wonderful Prime Minister, Mark Carney, visited with the president of China, and he slipped out something that was a lot of conspiracy theorists have been saying that a lot of the world's global elitists are trying to create some sort of new world order. And he actually let that slip. What do you think he meant by that?
Well, where do we get going here?
Okay.
Yeah, tea time. I think we've done trade with China and we're going to continue to do trade with China, but I think it speaks to the issue of Canadian-American relations more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
And our Prime Minister, as much as he sold himself as the guy to do a deal with America by last July, that's come and gone. As much as he sold himself to be the panacea of international relations, this guy continues to alienate us from our biggest partner, who's not going away, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
And so when he puts out things there and he uses loose terms like New World Order, I think we're already seeing in Canada a lot of division, a lot of, some people would call them conspiracy theorists, but rightfully so, a lot of people have concerns about what the mandate is of the Prime Minister. It creates a lot of fear. And I think that's what this Prime Minister is really, really good at. I mean, that's how he got elected, through Donald Trump, creating fear there. And this one, again, is that uncertainty of, well, what's our relationship with China at the end of the day? That's he's creating more uncertainty at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the thing about these deepening ties with China is all of the objections that the Liberals come forward with about the Americans, saying that they're unreliable, they're capricious, and our trade is jeopardized anytime there's any kind of disagreement. All of that seems to apply very much more so to China than it does to the United States. So it's difficult to really see how they really square that in their mind, because you see clips of Mark Carney a year ago saying China is the largest security threat to Canada.
Right.
And we know the last time we got into a dispute with China, they started kidnapping Canadian citizens to use as bargaining chips in trying to get us to change our position. I mean, how do you think the government really squares its stance that we can't really do business with the Americans as they're so unreliable, when all of these security concerns, by their own admission, apply as much or more, and likely more, to China?
And CSIS too, might I add, they also said that China was a huge threat.
Well, this is the question, right? Again, like I won't blame the government for doing business. We do already do business with that country. Again, depending on where that is specifically. But this aside, he did say it literally in the leadership race for the election.
Yeah.
That is the biggest security threat. So how does he square away that notion just months ago, now with being a strategic partner in a new world order? What message is that sending to Canadians? I think it's very confusing at the end of the day.
It stresses me out. I mean, I've never been a fan of the Liberals for quite some time now, and it's very concerning, especially that he said new world order. A lot of people would ridicule individuals who would say that these elitists are trying to cause further division so that they can have more control. Like, it's very concerning. And even his stance regarding Greenland, he just said today that when he spoke with the president of China, that they had very aligned views regarding Greenland. That's very concerning.
Well, we had some members of our conservative caucus out in Taiwan as well, and they stayed throughout the whole trip. But it was also concerning on where he was sparking some controversy of calling his members of his liberal caucus back. And so, is he placating just to the Chinese? Is he? You just never know what the prime minister. One day he's this, one day he's that. We always use the word bait and switch a lot. Here's another one again, just a short while ago. Biggest security threat, now one of our biggest trading partners going forward. I know we're trading with them, but really, again, you just never know what you're going to get with this guy on any given day.
Yeah, I think to me, I mean, I would say I do agree with you. We're doing business with China. I mean, they're our second largest trading partner, but I mean, it's kind of a very distant second because 80% of our trade is obviously with the Americans and only 5% is with China. So when we say second, and generally you don't think of your second biggest trading partner as being that much of an order of magnitude lesser. So it seems like the world's kind of becoming increasingly divided. The concern to me seems largely that Carney's trying to align us with the wrong side more than anything else, just because of the way China kind of tends to conduct itself.
I absolutely agree. I think he's taking a very short-term view of where Canada's going to be along. We've had a relationship with the Americans ever since we just became countries here in the last 2 centuries, and absolutely, the current president is so unpredictable, but he won't be president forever. And I still don't see how Carney, being this so-called genius, um, can keep his promises to be able to handle Donald Trump, but also set us up for something going forward. Whether it was Republican or Democratic, he sold himself as that. And so we are getting into these dangerous conversations on New World Order, questions about how we keep up with Taiwan. Our caucus members will stay there, but the Liberals will come back because of fear of China backlash. Greenland right now, when it comes to the European Union, of course, and the uncertainty there. And he just keeps to see digging this hole deeper with our biggest trading partner. And again, I don't see the strategy here. I do not see the long term output, and I don't see what he promised us at the end of the day.
Yeah, and knowing that the Americans are increasingly taking a hard line against China, it's difficult to really conceive of how kind of going to China, having these high-level meetings in China with Xi Jinping, and shaking his hand, calling them a strategic partner, and they're establishing a new world order is really in any way helpful to us trying to create a better deal, so to speak, with the Americans. If anything, we seem to be antagonizing them.
Yeah, I think it's almost getting to the point where he's doing it intentionally. I'd say, New World Order. The prime minister is not a stupid guy by any means.
Mm-hmm.
He has his so-called good resume, but he chooses his words very carefully.
Right. That's why it was super
Yes.
concerning to me. I'm like, what the hell did you just say to me right now? Those are very, very, I mean, again, it used to be conspiracy. And the fact that he actually just vocalized that brings truth to those words now. And I
Well,
don't think that I like being right.
well, what did he say about Greenland and NATO? Again, like I'm not here to carry water for the president, but at the end of the day, I even see people who are not in tune with politics in my community on the west side, watching social media generally and talking to people where they get concerned about pushback on Greenland, and now he's even digging that hole deeper over there when it comes to international relations. Again, this is a guy who's supposed to be World Economic Forum and have all this Brexit and world experience, but I don't think he was the guy supposedly to meet the moment. I haven't seen anything out of this prime minister to show that we're a serious country going forward. In fact, I think if anything, we're becoming even more of a laughing stock when it comes to international relations.
I agree. It's very hard for me to square away that all of these people that voted for liberals, they usually tend to go for philanthropic um, activist movements like Free Palestine and this and that, but they're silent when it comes to this whole China deal because China still has detention centers for Uyghur Muslims. They're assaulted every day, um, even like SA'd. I don't know what words we can use on YouTube, but it's awful what they have to deal with every single day. So, what do you make of that? Because there seems to be like a lot of cognitive dissonance on the left. They're for these groups, but then they forget about this.
Well, I wholeheartedly agree. It's really confusing. So the Uyghurs issue has been outstanding for years now, and that hasn't been addressed. The prime minister supposedly spoke about human rights when it came to talking with Xi Jinping, but he didn't go into any detail. So he just mentioned it. Oh, and by the way, here's this, and let's move on, because
Right.
he was too weak to actually do something about it. And so when it comes to the left and how they've voted for the liberals, it's a lot of hypocrisy at the end of the day. They seem to pick and choose their spots when they want
Right.
to go on the moral authority of things.
Right.
Yeah.
I just can't track because I mean they've had those detention camps for quite some time now, several years, but I guess they just don't matter to leftists.
I mean, the environment's probably an even better example of
Right.
hypocrisy that the current government's showing, because China's building new coal power plants and burning coal like it's the 1800s.
Right.
And they're actually the reason why all those poor turtles were getting straws up their nose, because they're polluting the ocean by just dumping trash into it. But at the same time, apparently, it's a world problem where we have to stop our relatively modest impositions and contributions towards any impact upon the planet. But we're just going to turn a blind eye to everything China is doing and then claim we're perfectly aligned on the issue.
Well, building on that one, whenever our natural resources minister Tim Hodson talks about environment and clean energy, I gotta like smirk in my face, because here's the most Goldman Sachs corporate guy, investor across probably the world, just like the prime minister. And the first thing he says about the trip to China is like, well, we have shared alignment on clean energy and protecting the environment. I'm like, are you serious, dude? Can you say that with a straight face? Really? At the end of the day, with all the coal plants going on, with all the different things that China is doing, sure, they've done amazing technological advances, but make no mistake, this is a country of over 1 billion people.
Right.
Energy runs this world, and they're still doing a whole bunch of things on the environmental hurt side as well.
I think the only alignment might be that if we don't want to actually have real energy, they're happy to sell us wind turbines.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Well, the one thing too about the China trip, I think it was in Qatar yesterday. Greenland's in the news. I can take it back to Canada. Again, this prime minister said we are in an existential crisis. Yesterday, he was saying New World Order. I mean, what's the date today, guys? It's January. We go back on my birthday, 18th. We go back on my birthday on the 26th. And the December 24th headline was we had a record of unused days in the House of Commons.
It was one of the shortest sessions of Parliament, sittings in a year, since like what was it, the 50s or the 60s?
I think 1937 is the one I was looking at.
A long time ago, yeah.
But for supposedly being in a crisis, for supposedly having New World Order, for supposedly all these things that are affecting Canada today, we're having record numbers of days off as parliamentarians. That doesn't make sense to me.
Well, that's the crazy thing. Like I read some newspaper columnists on Twitter who are saying, "Oh, Carney's accomplished so much. He's one of the greatest prime ministers ever." And
what?
Like, he passed one bill in an entire year, and all he did was throw money at problems, and he really changed almost nothing over an entire year in government. You would think that if anyone was given power over an entire country for a whole year, more or less, they would have a list of things they were actually going to accomplish. And yet we just saw so little. It was just all of the same tired liberal policies that have been failing us for the better part of a decade now, just rehashed and repackaged and claiming this was all new when it's really just more of the same. It was like a bar that got shot up. All they did was they put a new sign on it and gave it a paint job and then claimed it's a totally different thing.
Yeah, for me, we supported them on C5 because we want to see shit get built in this country.
Yeah, absolutely.
This country has become a country of MOUs and photo ops. The liberals seem to think that photo ops with handing out $1 billion here, $100 million there, or whatever the project is. This is why it's not a new government. This is Trudeau-esque photo ops, announcements, and no substance or anything behind it.
Right.
This is the guy who said he was going to build at speeds unforeseen in decades or years and generations, and literally nothing has been done. And running a record deficit at this point, what shovels are in the ground? What shovels are potentially supposed to go in the ground for nation-building projects? This C5 fiasco has resulted in literally nothing getting built.
Nothing.
I don't see one project other than the ones they re-announced from 8 years ago.
Right.
Yeah.
Like the mines in New Brunswick. What?
That was the craziest thing. They approved that project in 2017, and then they essentially re-announced the same project as being approved like 8 years later. I mean, that is the pace at which we're building things in this country, where you're saying something's approved 8 years ago, and then 8 years later, you're re-announcing that it's reapproved, rather than it being, not only constructed and in operation, it's not even open yet. 8 years later, after you approved it the first time, I mean, that's just insane. It's a wonder anyone's able to make any money in this country still.
Productivity is going in the crapper in this country. We're a natural resource based economy. I think you guys have had this conversation 20 times. We have it every day.
Yeah.
But still, there's no action behind it. I'll go even for my own community. I got tagged in this thing over the holidays, and it was when Pierre was being asked in his year-end interview about building a pipeline to the coast, and he was very straight up. He said, well, what about Indigenous consultation? And the AFN's against it. And by the way, AFN's just like Coastal First Nations. They're a lobby group. They're not a rights holder.
Right.
Reminded Tim Hodson of that a number of times, but they still seem to like these photo ops. Put that aside. What I loved about Pierre's answer is that he was straight up. And whether you agree or not, because in any situation like democracy, not everybody's going to agree. But he was forward. And he was saying, we will consult because that's what we are legislated to do when it comes to building a pipeline and major projects. But make no mistake, this is our intention. What we get out of the Liberals in the last 10 years is saying one thing to Alberta, saying one thing to First Nations, saying one thing to BC, saying one thing to Quebec, saying one thing to Ontario. And all it's ever done is divide this country even more.
Yes.
I always liked being behind Pierre because he knew where he was going. He is respectful, but he's also straightforward and like, this is what we intend to get done. We'll talk to you, but this is what we intend to get done for the greater.
And he's very consistent too.
Yes.
Which is why I've always had an issue with, well, not always, as of recent, for the floor crossing of a couple MPs, because nothing changed about your party, the platform, how the leader carried himself. Absolutely nothing changed. And then now we found out through a Conservative MP that they were indeed asking you guys and seeing like who's loose here and there, like who can we actually who's greasy, who's a snake, who can we get on our side,
who's nursing a grudge for something. But
Are you guys asking me if they ask me?
No.
I'll tell you.
But we figured you would have been like Anderson. You would have told them it was a whole day in hell.
Have they asked you?
There was some overtones of a text. Yeah, that was the most that ever got. It was
so they got feelers.
Yeah,
Testing the water.
Yeah. But truly, just like my colleague out Cold Day Hell. I'm a conservative. I've been a conservative since I was young.
Yeah.
Ran my nation like a conservative.
You did.
And I'm proud to be on this team. That's not even a question.
Exactly.
And we're getting close to getting back in the House. He's going to lose. He lost Freeland already. Thank God. Finally, she did the right thing and just stepped aside. Like again, and we still have some outstanding by-elections coming up. Matt Jenner's seat's going to come up as well. And rumor is that he's going to lose a few other MPs. So let's get back in the House. They won't have their majority. It's not looking like, and let's get back to work, going accountable.
Well, it seems kind of like the worst kept secret in Ottawa that Nate Erskine-Smith is going to go run to be the Liberal leader of the Ontario Liberal Party. So everyone's kind of expecting he's only there for another month or so before he resigns to go campaign full time.
Yeah, I think Nate's going to do that. Interesting guy. I met him once in Parliament. Just kind of this guy who comes up to you and shakes your hand and it's a little forward, but I kind of like that. But he'll lose his seats, and there'll be a subsequent by-election. You know, the Liberals, I guess, Canada voted for a minority government,
They did at the end of the day.
and they're trying to make no apologies, guys. Like it's backdoor greasy way of trying to get a majority government. This is not what Canadians voted for. This is democracy. And what I love about being a conservative is we have principles.
Yes.
Over there, you just never know what day of the week you're going to be this issue, and then you flip back to that issue, or you try to steal from other people's teams to go against the electorate. It's actually really disappointing to see.
Yeah, I mean, and they don't hold each other accountable at all. We're still not hearing anything about what's going to happen to Trudeau, because they found that what they did was pretty much illegal during the truck convoy. And I don't hear anything happening, any kind of consequence, nothing.
Well, that one was just a recent one too, right? That
Yes.
just
Yeah,
came
that
back
was
out.
that court decision.
Yeah.
The appeal was turned down a couple of days ago
Well,
from
so
the Federal Court of Appeal.
what from your legal perspective, Chris? What was the main issues there?
Well, they just upheld that the Emergency Measures Act, as was found like a year or so ago at the Federal Court of Appeal, hadn't been justified under the circumstances. And it's largely what everyone said at the time. I mean, what did you need to do if you really needed to get the convoy out of there? You needed to round up about 20 tow trucks, start towing people,
Right,
and
but
issue some parking tickets, really.
Yeah.
And instead of doing that, everyone kind of sat around and kind of wrung their hands and said, well, this is horrible. What could we ever possibly do about it? We need to send in the military. And, a bit of an unruly but entirely peaceful protest isn't exactly what the Emergency Measures Act was designed for. That's designed for like a riot, some kind of horrible conflict, an invasion, or an earthquake, or a tornado.
Right.
Something that's genuinely an emergency. The city of Ottawa has trouble, mustering the political will to round up 20 tow trucks. It's kind of like using a sledgehammer to try and kill a fly.
Well,
It's really what it comes down to.
there was the physical aspect of the protest that day, man. I remember watching that online. It was intense, but wasn't it also the freezing of bank accounts,
Right,
doing a
that
few
was the
other
biggest
things?
issue.
Why do you need to do that?
They didn't do that to the Free Palestine people. There's been so many protests, and they've blocked major roadways that would impede any kind of emergency vehicles from going through. But they actually froze these people's bank accounts.
It's New World Order stuff.
It
Again,
is.
it's kind of like and again, I don't blame people for being so concerned about these words that are being used in these actions that have been taken by the Liberal government, by the previous Prime Minister, now this one, with again just creating these divisions through words, but through actions at the end of the day.
Yeah, we're touching on pipelines a minute ago, and I think it's kind of gets at what the problem with Canada really is, and the problem is we can't build pipelines, and we can't really have people engage in kind of the core economic industries that would really generate wealth in this nation. So we have our government operating on what's essentially borrowed money over and over and over again, year after year, under the Liberals. And it's kind of becoming a concerning kind of house of cards that you're worried it's going to tumble down again if we don't actually start to right the ship, so to speak, and get people back to work, get these industries functioning, and get people employed again. Because we saw what happened, and I realize, you and I are old enough to remember the early '90s. I mean, I was young, but I still remember it was a bad time. But there's some people out there who don't necessarily remember kind of what a hard time that was for the country, and that's kind of the direction we're headed again. Because what happens when you borrow all this money and you kind of choke off economic activity is you head towards a fiscal meltdown.
Well, we help everybody, all of our Canadian citizens in our office, and a lot of what an MP does is serving immigration files. And I think our stance on immigration is we would be accused of by some people being racist. We got to walk that tightrope. We're not against immigration. Immigration built this country,
Exactly.
but it's clearly been mismanaged. When you bring in
Right.
4 million or plus people over the last number of
Yes.
years. You add that on to the reckless spending and the investments that have gone, so-called investments that have gone on to make this transition for new people to come here. We've had people come into our office who, great people, nice people, but they're having trouble with medical issues.
Right.
Well, that goes back into somebody wasn't doing grade school of math when they said, well, you're going to bring this many people in here, not build any new hospitals, not recruit new doctors, not do any of these things. We're just going to let them in. It's
Right.
probably
It's
showing.
unsustainable. I don't know what they were thinking, but it kind of goes to that whole idea they're trying to almost dismantle society and cause division for this new world order. Like it just right.
Oh,
Like what is that?
I generally can't figure what is the motivation though. Like
Right. Why would you
where
sabotage
are we
your
going
country?
though?
Right.
What it is it's basically a sugar high for the economy. Because you add in 1 million people into the economy and you get a little bump of GDP growth. So artificially, it makes the numbers look better. But it is kind of like drinking a diet a Coke or something like that, and not a diet Coke. You get all the
Red
sugar.
Bull. Yeah.
Yeah, it's straight sugar.
The
Because
bacon.
what you do is you bring in all these new warm bodies, and they have to buy groceries. They have to pay rent somewhere. They have to buy a house, they have to buy food, they have to pay utilities, they pay cell phone plans, and all of that. And that artificially will pump up some numbers. But at the same time, if the government is funding a large portion of that, or you're pushing Canadians out of the job market, you're creating problems that are going to cause you economic pain down the road. For example, our housing prices, the problems with the scarcity of public resources regarding healthcare and other social
And
programs and
education.
schooling, how there's no room for any of the kids in schools anymore. Like it's not well thought out. It's a very short term way of thinking at it. We plug more people in, we boost our GDP numbers up a little bit because we bring these people in, we give them some cash, and then they have to spend all that money in our economy. So it bumps up our retail numbers a little bit, and that makes things look good short term. But over the long term, we've created a youth unemployment crisis.
Yeah.
Our government's more indebted than it ever has been, and ultimately, we now have a housing crisis as well. So I think that's what happened. It was like the ultimate kind of short term gain, long term problem. And I honestly think Trudeau basically expected that he was going to be gone, and he was basically going to be leaving the bag with Pierre, and let the conservatives sort out all the problems and mistakes I made. I'm done.
Well, now these new fixes are half-assed, and running as a first-term MP, I didn't have a lot of the international experience, and of course, I still got a ways to go as a rookie MP. But immigration was a new file for me.
Mm-hmm.
But it was the first doors I knocked on of Canadians who have been here for over 10 years, who said, "I did everything when I came here. I did everything right. I worked really, really hard. I got an education. I came here to serve." And it just feels like in the last 10 years, maybe the last 5 more in particular, I've seen waves of new people come in here who have gotten subsidies, who've gotten so much support.
Right.
And I don't feel like this is the Canada that I was coming into. That was surprising to me.
Yeah.
It was surprising to me in that it was newer Canadians, not the newest ones, but it was the
Mm-hmm.
newer ones, maybe for lack of a better word, a cycle before that, who are seeing like the biggest problems with immigration. I didn't expect that at the end
Yeah,
of the
because
day.
everything wasn't handed to them, and the vetting process was far more stringent, right? Like they had to jump through hoops. They had to prove education, that they could actually contribute to society, a clean criminal record. Now, I mean, most of the records that we even get from some of these countries, they're fraudulent to begin with. They're not even giving you the full picture. So yeah, it's not fair. Like my parents, they immigrated here in the 70s and they worked so hard their whole lives. They weren't given 85 grand and a cell phone and a hotel to stay in until
Hotel
they,
ones are pretty ridiculous.
right.
Yeah.
I'm just like, what happened? I mean, they can't be that stupid to actually employ all of these messed up policies and just be, oh, so naive. Like, it
Well,
doesn't make a lot of sense to me, especially knowing that we had issues with healthcare because it is more social, like socialized. So you do have to wait your turn to be seen. I mean, I just find it hard to believe like they didn't know all of these devastating effects were going to take place.
they like to throw money at it, right? That seems to be the solution for everything. And money. I'm a capitalist, unapologetically. I think a lot of people will probably get mad at me on the other side of the political spectrum for saying the extreme people, but that's what's been proven several
They'll get
times
mad
over.
at you on their new iPhone and their new laptop. Yeah.
Are the people against oil and
Right.
gas or against that
Yeah.
stuff too? And they're like, it's such a poor argument, Billy. I'm like, you drive the
Right.
biggest truck. You drive the biggest truck out here.
Right.
This is something that always exasperates me about all of these people who benefit from capitalism and from our kind of industrialized economy. Particularly when they say we don't need oil and gas. Okay. I mean, I mean, let's say we take you at face value. What would you do? What are you doing to move away from oil and gas? And the answer is absolutely nothing. Like if we look at what the Liberals' policy was, it was just to say we're not going to have gas-powered cars anymore 10 years in the future. And are we going to do anything that would prepare the ground for that? Absolutely not. Because if you were rationally going to try and implement that policy, you would have to say, okay, well, how much electricity do we need to replace the functional capacity of all of these gas-powered vehicles? And then you'd have to build you'd have to build some kind of nuclear power plant or a hydroelectric power plant, and you'd have to spend the billions and billions of dollars over like 10 years to actually lay all the groundwork to the point where you could actually remove these gas-powered engines and then replace them all with electrical engines. Then you'd have to go and you'd have to upgrade all the transmission lines. You'd have to go through every neighborhood and replace the transformers. You'd have to go house by house and install the upgrades you need so people can plug in their cars. And it's about 10 grand a house.
But did they ever get to like a comprehensive plan? I never seen anything.
No,
They just
no,
said
no,
10 years,
no.
these are all gone.
Yeah,
Like,
not at all. There was no plan, which is what I'm saying. You would have to do all of these things and then build like a transmission network of
Right.
like of that to replace all the gas stations with charging stations. And they did none of that.
None of
Like
it.
none of the actual hard work to actually implement this kind of utopian solution was ever even considered. It was just like gas cars gone in 10 years.
Right.
How are we going to actually accomplish that? Well, it would be super expensive if we actually thought about it logically and actually
Unsustainable.
budgeted all of the money to do that. And we don't think people would actually like that. So we're just going to say we're going to do it. And it was pretty much something, again, I think Trudeau just thought, well, by the time that's going to happen, I won't be here anymore. And that's going to be the conservatives' problem to deal with. They'll probably just say, well, we're not doing that anymore. And then it's over.
And I mean, it's tone deaf, right? People are already struggling to pay their bills, make rent. They're living paycheck to paycheck, even going into debt. But they want us to all drive electric vehicles when people are barely making it by.
well, I always used to when the electric vehicle mandate. And by the way, it's still in place too. There's technically still in
So
place.
tone
I
deaf.
understand. Pause, whatever that means. But I always used my in-laws as the thought process for like questioning the stupidity around some of these policies and these laws. So my in-laws live in high level Alberta.
Yeah.
They live a way more traditional way of life. They're often in the bush hunting for their own food and sustenance. And when you go to high level Alberta, milk costs a little bit more.
Oh yeah.
Things cost a little bit more to live out there, and that's high level.
Yeah.
You go to other remote
Yeah.
communities in the north, you're probably paying $20 for a 4 liter jug of milk. I think I've seen online in some of the different places. And so, these guys, like it's frustrating. And that's the number one issue is affordability right now in Canada. But we seem to get distracted by a prime minister who wants to go and take pictures across the world and travel the world, having a record number of days not being in Parliament and having us off in a supposed crisis that he said we were in. It's frustrating at the end of the day because Canada's a solution to itself. I 10 years ago, downtown Edmonton didn't look like that.
No.
Like it wasn't. Downtown Edmonton has always needed some work.
But not like this. I used to go shopping on White Ave and downtown. I mean, I remember that when I was younger, we would go to like clubs and stuff like that. It was safe. It's not like what you see now.
The mall is shut in. I've been to China.
Bankrupt.
It's bankrupt.
Right.
I've been to Chinatown. I'm going there tomorrow to support a friend of ours and some hardship they've experienced with poverty and being assaulted. Um, but it was like Hastings to me, honestly,
Yeah.
just outside, just behind Chinatown, and I never seen that as a kid. There's always been poverty downtown, but not to
Not like
that
that.
level.
No,
No,
it's a disgrace what we're doing to people right now.
It's getting to be the beginning of a Batman movie. That's the sad part.
Yeah.
The part where some vigilante actually has to step in because of the fact, and I'm not advocating for a vigilante to step in and clean up downtown. I'm just saying that where you see this kind of disorder and crime being rampant is generally at the beginning of a Batman movie, showing the failings of local government and policing and everything like that. And the frustrating thing is we look at what the city government has done. They've poured so much money into downtown. And the federal government's poured so much money into downtown between the art gallery and the new museum and expanding Grant Mac and putting the arena in the middle of downtown in that whole ice district. But the reality is, no one wants to go downtown aside
No.
from watching the Oilers or a concert at Rogers Place.
Right.
Those are the only things that get people downtown anymore because there's so many homeless drug addicts walking around and just terrorizing everyone in the whole area.
Well, I appreciate, not to get into a jurisdictional debate here or anything like that, but I appreciate any government that wants to get shit done, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
But I'm even aware, without naming names, of the city council. They always say like the province should be doing more when it comes to homelessness and housing, and that's fair. But at the end of the day, the city council waded into several social projects as well, and I know they have given significant grant money to projects that required more due diligence and went nowhere.
No.
It was quite disappointing, actually, and I'm like, if this is the level of due diligence that City Hall is doing over projects that are literally hundreds of thousands of dollars, really cool on a sheet, that are meant to get people off the street but went nowhere, like that's pretty concerning to me at the end of the day. Yeah.
It's really crazy. I mean, Michelle's right. I've never seen kind of the state things are in the entire time I've lived in Edmonton. I haven't lived in Edmonton as long as she.
Yeah, I'm born and
she did.
raised
She
here.
was
I've
born.
never seen it like this before, and it breaks my heart.
I
It's
didn't.
very painful for me to see people live like this. And supposedly the compassionate side, the liberals, the bleeding heart liberals, they're okay with all this shit. I mean, they can't be blind. Like, they have to see, because it's spread out throughout Canada. It's not just here in Edmonton.
Fair.
It's every single major cities. It's even affecting towns. I don't know how they can keep supporting liberals years after year and they're still not doing anything. They're just causing more destruction. When we do have a beautiful country, but it's not the same beautiful country that I loved so much growing up.
Well, it's certainly not hitting its potential.
Not even close.
No. What are some of the solutions you think, Michelle? I mean, you have a background in some of the social psychology. One controversial one for me is provincially, the government is doing these kind of forced rehabilitation or recovery centers. I think it'll still be a couple of years out.
Yeah.
There's some questions around human rights and things of that nature, but where I come from, tough love is still love. And we got to start trying things rather than just throwing money at non-due diligence projects that are fluff, nice buildings, but they don't really actually solve the problem.
Right.
We actually have to start doing some things that are a little bit more risky, but calculated risks. And I'm not against that a more forceful putting people into rehabilitation. I think it's come to that point where it's warranted.
Yeah, I think that it would be very important for structure and order in society if we do have mandated rehab. That's the only way to fix it, because they keep saying like, oh, it's not compassionate to make them go to rehab. Okay, so it's compassionate to let them freeze on the streets, overdose, die. I mean, those people, their fathers, their mothers, their brothers and sisters, their friends, and their whole lives are going to be equated to just pain and nothingness if they don't actually get help. So I do think that it needs to be forced at this point, because fentanyl is one of those drugs where you can't just stop it. Okay, you can't just go cold turkey when you're messing around with opiates, or if you've been an alcoholic for quite some time. Other medications or other drugs, yes, you can go cold turkey on it without it threatening your life. But opiates and alcohol, they need to be done in a rehab facility so they can be monitored because it is actually life threatening when they attempt to detox. So they can't just do it on their own volition. They can't also the wait times for rehabs is so long. Like no one is going to wait for that amount of time. So we do have to make it forced, unfortunately, because I mean, when you're kind of stuck in the throes of addiction, it's going to take a lot for you to come to that place, if you even come to that place of wanting help. I mean, many people don't. And the success rate of rehab is still quite low because,
Yeah,
again, when we're dealing with hard drugs, they have quite a strong hold on you. So we do need to do that. We owe it to those people. If we want society to function properly, poor gosh, she wants to be on the table, then just be on the table. I mean, also, we lose a lot of money each year by having people addicted to drugs or struggling with mental health issues. That's why I think that mental health should be subsidized the way that healthcare is too. Um, because we lose actually around the world billions and billions of dollars by not addressing addictions and mental health. So, if we want really a prosperous society, then we need to actually give those people those resources that they desperately need so that they can get back to the life that they deserve living. No one deserves to live like this, especially like, I mean, it's shitty to be homeless and addicted to drugs, period. But imagine doing that here in Edmonton, where sometimes it gets minus 40, minus 30, minus 20. You're freezing outside. And I'm sure you have some sort of memory of you in your warm bed, in your parents' home, and, you know, that memory of normalcy. And it feels like a distant dream that's never going to happen ever again.
Well, what the saddest headline that I thought, well, one of the saddest over the holidays was the record amount of amputees
Oh, God,
from
yeah,
in Edmonton. And again, that's just like, who wants to be known as the amputee capital of Canada? It's cold out there,
it is.
and people are literally just playing survival mode. And I was in a grade 5 class the other day. They're like, "What's the hardest part of your job?" In a country like Canada, it doesn't need to be like this.
No,
It
it
doesn't
doesn't.
need to be like this
It
at
doesn't.
all. Chrissy, it kind of reminds me too. We've seen something over the holidays, or most recently December-ish. Going forward in BC, where they've kind of rolled back their policy on what is it, safe consumption
Yeah.
sites and things like
Well,
that.
essentially, they had decriminalized hard drugs uh, through a pilot project with the federal government. And even EB, who is enthusiastic about the project when it was brought in, has now declared it a failure.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think it just applies to that BC pilot project. It applies to the country as a
Right.
whole. This whole kind of very permissive drug use policy, aside from the marijuana legalization, which hasn't really been that big of a problem, but this permissive attitude towards hard drug use has been just an absolute failure for the country. Like there have always been some homeless people, and it's like the Bible says, the poor will always be with us. There'll
Yeah.
always be some homeless people, but the amount and the prevalence is just crazy, and it's so tied up with all these safe consumption sites and the widespread availability of drugs. You can see videos of how essentially all of these safe consumption sites almost have a bazaar of drug dealers just camped out right outside them, just waiting to sell you whatever you want to walk in and use right outside. So we've just almost turned a blind eye to all of this crime in a way that was never really uh, considered or properly discussed with anyone who lived in these neighborhoods. They've terrorized entire neighborhoods.
The
They,
crime
they've
rates go up every
yeah,
time you put a safe consumption site up.
yeah. And it's very much in keeping with the fact that anytime you subsidize something, and that's ultimately what's happened with drugs under the liberals, they've subsidized it. So they've subsidized drugs in a number of ways. One, they've been flooding the streets with hydromorphine tablets,
Yeah.
and people who are prescribed hydromorphine have been selling their hydromorphine to buy crack or fentanyl
Fentanyl.
or whatever else is their drug of choice. And then you have more people who are addicted to these hydromorphine pills on top of that. So you just have more drug use as a result, and all these safe injection sites have just been subsidy for these people who otherwise would be in some other shooting gallery. And I don't know who exactly thought government funded shooting galleries was a good idea, but ultimately that's what we've decided to do. What we need to do is simply say this is legal. We're shutting it down. If we
Right.
need to use the notwithstanding clause, we should, and then we should just shut this down and put everyone who's running them in jail if they refuse to shut down.
Yeah.
And there would be nothing the Supreme Court of Canada could do about it.
Well, I always brought it back to there's a lot of like in a lot of things, unfortunately, and we'll get stuck here, but Indigenous people there's lots of them on the street disproportionately as well. But I always used to say, you know, like when it came to safe supposedly safe consumption sites, you know, go ask one of the 600 plus chiefs if they would build a safe consumption site on their reserve. I don't think you can find one.
No.
So it's not good enough for them, but it's good enough for downtown Edmonton, where there's a lot of homeless Indigenous people. That never made sense to me. Hey, look, there's a lot of good theories, a lot of good. Socialism sounds good in theory, but it doesn't
In
work.
practice, it's garbage. It's
It doesn't
garbage.
work.
I almost want to send all of them to like Venezuela, go to Russia. You like that kind of government? Go ahead, go live it. Like
the only place socialism kind of works is like a Hutterite colony, and that's because
Right.
there's like 100 of them, and they're all related.
yeah, well, and they all have their jobs and they all work together, right? But when the population's this big,
No, it doesn't
No.
work.
no. But give us some good news. When do you think we're going to have an election?
Oh,
I'm anxiously waiting. I'm like, please.
crystal
please.
ball. What's that guy Jimmy Carson used to do with the thing there?
Yeah, fortune telling.
Yeah. I'm not even that old, but I think it's The Simpsons that got me into that. Well, hey, look, I won't rule out 2026. You know, let's get back in the house. Pierre will win his review, so Pierre's here to stay, and Pierre's really good at opposition. I just can't wait to see him when he's in prime minister because this country needs that change up.
Yeah, desperately.
Yeah, and so you know, there's you know, Freeland left, and doesn't look like they'll have a majority in the House anytime soon. So there'll be a number of non-confidence votes. They technically haven't even got the budget passed. I mean, they got the first part passed, but the implementation of it's still outstanding. This is a government that's proving it can't get anything done, even in the House. And so, you know, I wouldn't rule out. I wouldn't rule out. I have to give my best guess. If it was in 2026, the fall.
Yeah.
It could line up that could happen.
Well, the NDP would have a new leader by
then. Yep.
And you know, it's widely rumored there's you know at least 4 or 5 Liberal MPs who've been around for ages who are kind of looking towards the exits now that they're not in cabinet and have other jobs in mind.
Well, we're going to have a few provincial elections. Well, I'm not sure if we'll have a few, but we're going to have one this year for sure. And it's going to be another big one. I mean, when we were young, we had the 1995 referendum. It looks like the party Quebecois is coming back into power out there in Quebec. So here's another challenge on the horizon when it comes to unity in this country. And we're going to need a strong prime minister to actually overcome even that that situation in Quebec.
There is a certain irony that you know, we get half measures Carney, who's supposed to be such a strong leader according to the CBC, but at the same time we see separatism rising
across the country,
in the West and in Quebec, and you know, now even Doug Ford is no longer going to wear friendship bracelets with him since he's flooding Ontario
with Chinese EVs.
With Chinese EVs, yeah.
Well, that's what I said. There's just, you know, like it is frustrating when you go into the House and before we left for break and the cockiness from that side of the House. Hey, look, man, you guys, your government, I get it, but still no substance though. Like when I'm in the House, I'm always actually pretty proud of our team to join this team. This team grew under Pierre, but the bench is that much stronger too.
Oh yeah,
like it's actually really noticeable in the House. And we just can't wait till we get our shot at doing government, quite frankly. Yeah.
We can't wait either. I keep praying. I'm like, come on, election. I know we have to fundraise still, but I don't care. I'm like, please, come on, election.
Everybody always asks me, like, what's the difference between First Nation politics and reserve politics? I'm like, it's all the same, but the fundraising part, I'm getting new at that. Like, Chris always reminded me of that. You got to go ask people for money. I'm like, I'm used to people asking me for money.
Well, that's the thing about electoral politics, right? I mean, it's always everyone you meet, you're asking them for votes and financial support for your next election campaign. It's the unfortunate lot of every politician, right?
Yeah, it's humbling. It's humbling, but I will say this: it's been great. On the nation again. I categorize them as large family businesses. We're pretty much all related out there. Out here, you got 100,000 people who are strangers, but they still come out for a principled cause, and that's what I love about the conservatives, man. You know what your cause is. You know where you're going. You know what your true north is.
Yeah.
And then the other parties, it's like we can be going this way, we can be going that way. In the case of some of my NDP friends federally, I don't even know where they're going.
Right. There's no consistency between them.
There's
nothing.
Yeah, it's kind of baffling to watch because, the Liberals have, over the last decade or so, just turned into a complete cult of personality. Whoever the leader is, they kind of get blind adherence from the supporters of the Liberal Party, no matter how much they're reversing themselves from what they were saying yesterday. Yesterday, China is the greatest threat to our country. Today, the Chinese Communist Party is our best friend. And there's no kind of
consistency,
pushback. There's no consistency,
no accountability, nothing.
Yeah, it's kind of wild to watch.
It's funny, the leftists, they keep calling Donald Trump a dictator, and I'm like, this kind of feels more like a dictator what he's doing.
Well,
and his besties now are dictators. So
have you guys heard about Qatar?
Right.
What's the latest with Qatar?
Well, I'm saying Carney's there making friends with Qatar. And if you think Trump is a dictator, wait till you hear about the people in charge of Qatar.
Oh, yeah, they do things different out there.
Oh, they do. They do.
Well, when it comes to like international relations too, it's just frustrating to watch. Again, like China, Qatar, Indonesia, Dubai. Great. I think everybody kind of agrees we diversify our trade. But he goes there and he takes a picture. Mm-hmm. And nothing happens. Like, when did we actually see productivity come back to Canada? When did we see this happen? And I get it, but actually nothing's really happening.
It seems like on half of his trips, we wind up giving away money as opposed to bringing in anybody. Because he goes to Jamaica, and suddenly we're giving like $500 million to Jamaica.
Yeah, I'm like,
for
no
like
more
female
traveling.
Green businesses and all this other nonsense. As if we don't have enough troubles of our own, but we can go and kind of have pet projects in the Caribbean for whatever reason.
Let's hit on the AGM. So yeah, my second AGM, first time as a member of Parliament here, coming up in Calgary at the end of the month. Pretty excited, and of course, leadership review will happen, and of course, I'll predict Pierre will get an outstanding number where it won't even be a question, as it shouldn't be for the leadership. Mm-hmm. But you two, of course, being president, vice president of our EDA, have brought forward some policy concerns, and what's some of the debates you guys are looking forward to?
Well, obviously, we're looking forward to our resolution.
Yes.
We do have our resolution calling to end the temporary foreign workers and the international labor mobility programs and replace them with something far more modest to deal with genuine temporary labor usage for things like agriculture.
Yeah.
Which is something like that's exactly what the program originally was designed to do. Have people come in and pick fruit, because it wasn't something where you actually needed a worker for any long period of time. But obviously that program has gone so far off the rails that we basically need a hard reset.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm a little butthurt about my policy not making it through. But I knew Eastern Canada was going to snake me like that, because I wanted to change how equalization looked, so that we didn't get penalized for using our resources. But all those snakes out east, I don't even know if I want to call the conservatives anymore. I'm like, you guys, this was almost like the marriage counseling before the divorce. I'm like, you need to do this or we're going to go. Like, we're just getting the shit end of the stick.
Michelle, this
I
whole
know
this
it
whole
would
separatist thing. We need to win an election next year. Then all of them will go away. It'll be like
exactly. That's
it'll
the
be three
thing.
guys in a bar
I
mumbling in their
agree.
beer again,
I
like it was
agree.
when Stephen Harper was prime
I agree,
minister.
but I still don't think equalization is fair as it stands today. I think we're being
Well,
taken advantage of here in Alberta, and I don't like it.
well, the fact that hydroelectricity doesn't count towards equalization,
Exactly.
it has always been a real kind of cook the books thing that appeases Quebec.
Right.
And that's the reality of the situation, and that really should change at some point in the future.
But how long can you like be like? How can you take? You have a little bit more pride as a region, as a province, to be like. Wouldn't the goal be like, let's get off equalization? Can we be like a contributor to equalization? Now it's
Yeah,
like BC has gone back and forth.
yeah.
Ontario, Alberta's always giving, but like, shouldn't it just be like a goal? Like,
Not to take
yeah,
anything. Yeah,
like we don't want to be taking,
you
more than
shouldn't
our fair
want
share.
to.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean, and I understand that some of those eastern provinces, like Halifax and PEI, that they
yeah,
have
they're a little
kind of
smaller and
tiny
yeah,
microeconomies. I mean, PEI is basically 2 times the size of Red Deer,
yeah.
and that's their whole province. So there's never going to be a lot they can do to raise the amount of money that would, allow them to offer reasonably comparable services to Alberta per se, because of the fact they're so small. They're just a little island. So they're always going to be in that situation, and there's probably nothing they can actually do to change that. But at the same time, Quebec has all kinds of resources. They just choose not to produce.
But we're paying money to other provinces that don't have our best interests at heart. It's like having a sugar baby with no sugar. Like it's the shittiest deal ever. I'm like,
Mm.
I don't
Yeah.
blame people for wanting to separate because it's so bad. But I hope that we can win. So we don't, because I agree with Chris. I don't think separatism is going to be a huge issue if we're able to actually make more money out here and we're not getting screwed over.
Well, that's kind of the awful dynamic about how parts of the country, Quebec and downtown Toronto, uh, treat kind of the oil industry and resource extraction in general, because they also act this way, unfortunately, to like the mines in northwestern Ontario as well. I mean, they're quite happy to take all the money, but at the same time, they don't want you to do it. So it's almost like those wives of those guys who go up and work in the oil sands, where they want all the money, but they also want them to be home all the time. I mean, pick a struggle. I mean, you can't have it both ways.
I'm in Ottawa a
Either
lot, so I kind of know. Yeah.
either we have either we have the money or we're home all the time. You pick a lane, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you can't have it both ways. And unfortunately, that's kind of how the country has treated these resource extraction industries, whether it's kind of the gold and the rare earth minerals in northwestern Ontario, or it's been the oil and gas industry here. Everyone's happy to spend the money and keep stretching their palm out to take it, but then they also want to gear up the works. And
Well, it goes to show you again how the liberals don't have a spine and all this, and they don't mean what they say when Stephen Gilbo resigns from cabinet, but he's still in the party, and they're walking back all his policies, and they're saying some new things, but they never act on them. By the way, so we're always in this mishmash of saying some nice things, but never actually doing them. But they were never serious about environmental protection. If they could just
No.
walk back his
They're just
policies,
virtue
just like
signaling.
that.
They just keep doing that. That's
Yeah.
well,
all they do.
well, I swear to God that Trudeau's actual plan was he was going to lose the last election,
Mm-hmm.
and then
It was
someone
looking like
else,
that.
and then someone
Kamikaze.
else would actually come in and clean up his mess.
But
I almost feel like that was the actual liberal plan. We're going to virtue signal hard here for a number of terms. This is completely unsustainable, but it's going to be someone else's problem, and someone else will have to be the bad guy who has to come in and give the dad speech that, okay, you can't just eat ice cream for breakfast, and you can't just not go to work. We can't just not pay the bills. We can't run up the credit card and all this other stuff. And they were just hoping it was going to be someone else, whether it was Aaron O'Toole or Pierre Poilievre. the plan was always, well, we'll just lose at some point, and then someone else is going to have to come in and say, clean up on aisle 6.
Yeah.
And it's just gone on longer than they ever really thought was possible.
Hmm.
I honest to God swear that's the most likely explanation for why they're kind of like spinning their tires now. And you have Carney kind of offering a half measure of trying to creep back towards something halfway adult and sensible, even though he's afraid to actually do anything because it'll piss off his kind of rabidly uh, straight anti-American, anti-development, anti-industry base. The frustrating part is the average liberal supporter seems to be someone who thinks like groceries originate in a grocery store. They don't come from a farm.
Hmm.
They don't come from a ranch. Everything just arrives as a completed product, and there's no real thought into how you ever arrive at the destination.
Well, call me juvenile or call me something. Like I guess my definition of success, a big thing for me is growth, consistent growth on whatever project you have, and one aspect or cliche that's overused, but it's just true at the end of the day is you leave something better than you found it.
Right.
And over the previous 10 years of a Justin Trudeau government, what is his legacy?
Oh God,
And then
destruction.
and then with this new prime minister and it's not a new government, it's the same Liberal Party.
Yep.
What is he tracking to be his legacy? Because I don't know what that is. Is
More
it marijuana?
Well, I mean,
marijuana for Justin Trudeau.
Trudeau's legacy is weed, and everything else was a complete and utter disaster.
Now they're walking back a lot of what Trudeau's doing. So what's he on track to do? Like when I said that, I mean when we did Enoch, we're now building our own economy. We're going to stand on our own 2 feet. That's a small micro community. But what's Canada doing now to be like that next chapter of Canadian history?
I
It's
think our
changing.
next chapter is the New World Order. I think we're
Well,
gonna have digital
I don't know.
IDs. I think it's actually going to be like, imagine the most like insane tinfoil hat conspiracy theory, and that's gonna start to happen from now and probably like within the next 5 years.
I'm always
I
like,
hope to God I'm wrong. I hope to God the conservatives win, and this is all just a fever dream, and nothing bad happens. But everything just feels corrupt because I'm even one of those people that like when we saw that there was like those boxes of ballots, they were like going to people's houses or they were like in their trunks and stuff. I always thought like I don't think people actually voted for the liberals. I don't know, maybe I'm just naive, but it's hard for me to understand how people can continuously support a party that has impoverished so many people. Like the food banks across this country have never seen numbers like this. 1 in 4 Canadians is considered food insecure. That shouldn't even be a term in a first world country. So yeah,
well,
it's awful.
I'm never quite as pessimistic as you are about this, Michelle, because I remember back in time, and you think about it, we had John Chrétien for so long as a prime minister, and then
I didn't mind John.
everyone
I liked
hailed,
him, man. He was a gangster.
and everyone hailed how Paul Martin was going to come in. He was going to smash all the other parties. It was going to be this big 300 seat liberal majority. All the other parties were going to be wiped out. And then he was in there for a year. And what is the legacy of Paul Martin as prime minister? I mean,
I don't even recall.
yeah, but people barely remember he was
I don't
prime
remember.
minister.
Just the
And-
guy who was naturally supposed to take over Chrétien, and he didn't last that long. I don't.
Yeah, and honest to God, I think that's going to be what we remember Carney for in a number of years, because his record of accomplishments at this point is basically a blank sheet of paper, and he's not
hope
going to
he's
last
right.
that long.
That's better than
He's
what I think.
he's a transitional leader. Basically, the Liberals put him forward as kind of a bait and switch at the last moment, and because they couldn't run Trudeau again without getting wiped out in a landslide because the country was done with him. And he doesn't have any answers. All he has is these kind of half measure policies and kind of fear and smear type tactics to try and hang on desperately. But the actual fundamentals of the country remain just as bad as when everyone was upset with Justin Trudeau. It's just a matter of everyone kind of coming around to the conclusion that nothing's really changed.
Maybe Donald Trump will liberate us. He's gonna give us freedom. I'm like cue eagle sounds like,
No.
hey Donald, we need some of that freedom here. Can you
We don't.
liberate us, brother?
We don't need anyone sticking a
Because he's
door in.
making moves. Like he's going from country to country, fucking shit up.
Wow.
I'm just like, are we
No.
next?
No.
Because
No.
we're rubbing shoulders with one of his enemies
No,
and
no.
one of our previous enemies. So
Well, I'll say this. I grew up loving this country. I say it stems from my dad. My dad read to me. I said it in a couple of my speeches, but it's just true. As cheesy as it sounds, he used to read me books about encyclopedias in Canada. I just fell in love with the country. And given that there's still, we have still how many? We have great people. We have a huge land base. Freaking beautiful country. I was with grade 5 students the other day. They're like, "What's the coolest thing you know about Canada?" I'm like, "I get to travel here. I get to travel here. I get to meet amusing people across this country, and it's worth saving. It's worth fixing. It's worth investing in, and it's worth sacrificing your time as a public servant to want to do the right thing."
I agree.
I used to say like, my nation. It's tough being a First Nations leader. You're systematically under the Indian Act, and that's tough. But you can get yourself out of it through hard work.
Yeah.
You can get yourself out of it through pragmatism and running some good policies. And I used to say I'm a little bit of a sucker for punishment because it's a tough job. But sucker for punishment in a good way because this country still, it has a bright future if we do it right.
There's
still
still
a lot of
hope.
potential
We're
here.
still not at that point where it's completely
No.
irreversible. So we can still fix it, but we are hitting that time crunch.
Well,
right?
look, separatism is very concerning. I know we share some different general questions around the table when it comes to separatism. Man, I didn't live through Western separatism, so this is new for me. It's coming down the pipe in Quebec. I don't know where it's going. Well, Canada's going to stay together, but the frustration is not going to just go away with one referendum.
No.
And I always think it's frustrating that we're getting to this point because this is such a great country. We're so rich in natural resources, whether it's oil and gas or other minerals, gold, silver, and all these kind of rare earth minerals. We have them in abundance. We have steel. We have such rich agricultural produce that we have available in forestry resources, and we have a very educated populace.
Yeah.
So we have all the elements to have this really dynamic and successful economy.
Right.
And the only thing preventing us from engaging in all that and being as rich and as prosperous as we should be is ourselves.
Yes.
Like beyond Trump or China or any other country, we are our own worst enemy. The restrictions we impose on ourselves and the limits we impose on ourselves are what's really impoverishing people. And to a certain degree, it always breaks my heart just to see all these people who are going to food banks or people who say they can't afford their rent or their mortgages and all this other things. And there's no need for it. Like we're a rich country and we should be even richer. It's just incredibly frustrating.
Right. And we can't keep blaming our problems on Donald Trump, okay? He hasn't been the president of the US for years and years. No, that was Trudeau's doing. He messed up this country, and now we have to work as hard as possible to get it back.
I wholeheartedly agree. You guys are making maybe a little bit of the same argument. Not a little bit, you are principally. Donald Trump is a factor, world politics is a factor, but the biggest factor is just ourselves.
Right.
Like it truly is, Chris. Like this country could build things tomorrow. We shouldn't be talking for 2 years on. We used to get projects done. There's Trans-Canada pipeline that's built in the 50s in 2 years.
Yeah.
Now we got to take 2 years just to talk about one.
And it's 2026 with all the technology we have. I mean, have you seen? This is one thing about China that I'm going to compliment them on. Have you ever seen like a time-lapse video of them building like huge infrastructure?
The engineering projects out there?
It's fast. Like within a week or two, it's all done. It's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, the amount of bureaucracy we built up over the last 30 years in this country is insane. Allowing the Liberals to be in power and to have given as much power to the courts as well has just been kind of really terrible for our democracy, unfortunately. I mean, I feel like we're basically just living that lit song from the late 90s. We are our own worst enemy.
Yeah.
Our clothes are in the front yard and we're sleeping with our clothes on.
What song was this?
Lit. You remember that? It was the late 90s?
Smashing. No,
it was
Smashing.
Wasn't Smashing Pumpkins. It's another band.
I like that band more. I love Smashing Pumpkins.
But the song's chorus is literally "I am my own worst enemy."
Okay.
So we'll play it for you after. But it was a very popular song when I was in high school. But back to the convention. I mean, my expectation is Pierre's going to get through that completely unscathed. I'll be surprised if he doesn't get over 80% of the vote. I won't hold you to a number of a prediction because we're in caucus. It's not polite to ask. But I think he'll win overwhelmingly. And hopefully, that's just another stepping stone towards him being able to lead us into another election in the coming year. And it seems like we're going to have some interesting policy discussions because I know there's some stuff on crime and there's some stuff on social policy and everything like that that's going to come up in the next convention. So it should be entertaining. And you know what? I think Calgary will be a very welcoming place for us to have our AGM, given it's kind of the heartland of the party, so to speak.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Calgary, going there, and my only experience was in Quebec City, and that was a great time.
Oh,
I
that
actually
was awesome.
I got to speak there on the stage.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, and Calgary will be a little bit more of a home vibe for us, the heartland of conservatism out here in West. Not that we have conservatives across the province.
We're the real ones. Let's not get it twisted.
Calgary is a home game for us.
Yeah,
we're like the Texas of Canada here. We're the real conservatives.
It's going to be a great time, and looking forward to the policy discussions. And just want to thank you too, because our EDA is a new one.
Yeah, and so you guys, it's a baby.
Yeah, you guys put in the personal time and effort to keep building it.
It's because we're honored that you're our MP, especially.
Oh, we're.
I mean, before you even threw your name into the mix, I've said it multiple times because you've given speeches at several different conservative events prior to you putting your name in. And I said to Chris multiple times, I wish he ran in the party. And I said, if he ever runs for prime minister, he's going to win.
Well, I want Pierre as our prime minister.
And whenever he's done, because you're young. I don't think people realize how young you are because the way you carry yourself, like you seem very mature and because you are mature. I mean, you have so many kids too. You've been a father for quite some time. Like you're a real adult. You're not like me. I feel like I'm like a pseudo adult. Yeah. Because how old are you again? You're 40?
I'll be, the first day we get back, I'll be 39. That's not old. That's not young.
No, 39. Yeah.
No,
this is what I mean.
For the record, everyone, and for everyone watching, Michelle only means after Pierre served 4 complete terms.
Yes, I feel like you,
Pierre. Completely exhausted his agenda.
And I got to learn French too, by the way. I'll be honest too. I had to learn that French version of the House of Commons. It wasn't.
Oh God!
I was kind of mumbling off there in the start. To be honest, there's a lot of MPs too, but now I'm getting good at it.
You're going to be like, may his memory be eternal. But Deepak Chopra, remember Deepak?
Oh yeah.
He knew like 3 words in French, and he just coasted on those.
What was the guy who was running in Ottawa, the Liberal? He's just like, yeah, that doesn't matter. I'm like, it kind of does.
Oh, no, it absolutely does.
Yeah, the guy Carney gave the veto after he beat him in the leadership convention.
Yeah.
Stole a seat.
Oh, no, we got a great team. And Pierre's
yes,
for that.
But, after that.
Yeah. Let's get into government first.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a lot of work to do.
No, Pierre's wonderful though, and I mean that guy hustles like I've never seen a politician hustle before.
Yeah,
he is always making appearances, traveling, working hard. I mean, he doesn't take a break. He's almost bionic.
No, and he it's I wouldn't be where I am without Pierre. He personally inspires me. When I first reached out to him to have a conversation, even before he was leader, he took the time to meet with me, and I have a lot of respect for him. But truly, the guy doesn't quit.
No, he doesn't.
He's the pushback he gets is that he's a career politician, and just being upfront, that is clearly what he gets a lot of pushback from. But I always say, like, more than the drama teacher, more than the supposed worldly guy who's World Economic Forum and everything, Pierre's put his life and soul to this for 20 plus years. Yeah. Give me the guy who knows how the House of Commons works, who's on the ground with Canadians, was born into his story, into Calgary, and has a
Mhm.
diverse background, doesn't come from a place of privilege at all. He
Exactly.
built his way to the top.
He really did.
And this is a better person to run this country than what, to be quite frankly, the last two phony leaders that we've had.
Yeah.
Like they're not, they one's a drama teacher,
Yep.
and one has come back selling a bill of goods that he can't deliver. Period.
Yeah. I mean, I'm always very impressed with Pierre because one, he's just a tremendous communicator. Like I mean, rarely have I seen anyone in conservative politics, at least in recent memory, probably back to like the '80s, but Mulroney was a good speaker.
Yeah, Mulroney was good.
People had mixed opinions of him ultimately, but he was actually a very captivating speaker. To give him credit, but he's like the best communicator we've had as a conservative leader in this country in over 30 years. And beyond that, I mean, on top of his rhetorical ability, I mean, he's just always on the grind, as you guys have been saying. He's always doing two, three events in a day, and just going out and trying to spread the word. I mean, it's really incredible because those two things have been something I think we've lacked in a leader in
Mhm.
decades.
Mhm.
So to me, it's very encouraging just to see that he's out there, making speeches, putting out videos, talking to people, making media appearances. And he's doing events over and over and over again just to try and get the word out because that's how we're going to win. Because to a certain extent in the past, I think there's been a tendency to just hope the whole thing's going to come to us
Mhm.
in a way when people got tired of the liberals. But he's always out there. He's on the attack. He's trying to make something happen, which, as a policy, I appreciate a lot. And I think that's why he's going to win overwhelmingly when we have the AGM,
Oh,
just because
absolutely.
everyone can see what he's doing and his
Mhm.
ability and his ability also to very much read the mood of the country.
Yes.
And I think those are the things that he's really managed to do that other leaders in the past of the Conservative Party haven't. So I think he's going to be successful. It's just we got a little bit off track here between Trump and the bait and switch, but I think we're going to get it next time.
Well, he always says it, and I love that he says it. I know people will accuse him of being of saying things over and over, but this one's true, and it was true over a decade ago. It's less true today, but um, in Canada, if you work hard enough, you should be on a safe street and have a good family and under a proud flag and feel that security.
Exactly.
The guy works hard. You have to have the talent that he does, no doubt about it. The communication talent, the political
Yeah,
talent, build that up. But hard work is not something that can be discounted. It can get you out of a lot of situations. It could lead a good country, and this
yeah,
guy works hard, man.
Mhm.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So I mean, I think we've covered
Yeah, we
kind
did.
of a really wide-ranging discussion there, Billy.
Mhm.
Thank you again for coming and speaking with us. And that's our show for today. So thank you, everyone, for watching this episode of Politics Unleashed. Thanks for listening. Make sure to like, subscribe, and to share the podcast. And we'll see you all next time.
See you guys.